all you would do is just generate perverted versions of your characters. It's not unreasonable that people question their movements and their spending. He uses that ability to bring in more and more and more and more investments. So I can see why people would question what are they doing, and people would put all their moves under scrutiny. There's so much money like at stake with all of them. He has to say that experimentation and failure is bound to happen. Tides are shifting rapidly, and has Anthropic been gaining ground that OpenAI has been losing? Yes. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Radio here, and we are back with another video. Today, we are gonna go through an article from The Atlantic. The article is titled, OpenAI is doing everything poorly. We're gonna just read through it. It's a short, quick read, about an 8-minute read. And you know what? I'm gonna try to use, there is a function here where you can listen to the article. So we're gonna read it and listen to it at the same time. Something a little fancy for you guys, huh? And then after that, there's some rebuttals I can share with you guys just to provide you with like a different perspective and a different way of thinking about the statements and the claims in this article. So just kind of give you guys just a different side of things and just a different way to think about things. So we don't necessarily need to read something and believe it's true, or read something and just like kind of perpetuate what it says. We should always try to think of things in both sides, especially stuff like this, which is concerning our future, and the future is unknown. And you really want to tread carefully, and you really don't want to make any sort of grand assumptions based on recent happenings, especially now that we've seen everything move so fast and things change so fast. So, but yeah, let's just get into it. Alrighty,
You're listening to OpenAI is Doing Everything Poorly by Lila Shroff, published on the 25th of March, 2026. This audio article was produced by audio journalism app Noah, News Over Audio, and 11 Labs using an AI voice.
I think that's pretty cool. Where shout out Atlantic. They actually did something cool here with the. I think this is not just them. It's a couple other websites, news websites, and a couple of literary websites that do this, and you can listen to an article as you're reading it. So I think that's just generally very, very cool. It definitely helps you be more engaged with what you're reading. So yeah, let's get into it.
When I opened Sora this morning, I was met with a flood of strange and disturbing AI-generated videos. On OpenAI's video app, I scrolled through fabricated scenes of the Iran war and a barrage of fake Donald Trumps blabbering about Jeffrey Epstein. In my least favorite clip, I watched a man deep fry an infant. The app lets users create fairly realistic-looking AI-generated clips, including of their own likeness, and then post them on a TikTok-like feed.
I gotta say, that's pretty crazy that you could make a clip where a guy deep fries an infant, right? I'm sure you all had the experience. If you try to use Sora, you do something that's outside the guidelines, it'll strike it down immediately. You not only you waste your credits and tokens, or you would have wasted your credits and tokens. Sora doesn't exist anymore, but you would also not see the clip that you made, and it would just say it's against the guidelines. So it must have been one hell of a prompt that cut through the guidelines and restrictions. Alrighty, let's continue.
Not all of them are so unsettling, and for better or worse, Sora has been a steady source of internet virality. Within days of its release, it skyrocketed to the top of the App Store. Now Sora will soon be dead. Yesterday, OpenAI said that it was shutting down the app and terminating public access to its video-generating technology. The decision was seemingly abrupt. Just a few months ago, Disney announced plans to invest $1 billion in OpenAI as part of a licensing deal to bring its characters to Sora. And earlier this week, workers from both companies were apparently still collaborating. Disney has since retracted its investment plans.
I do wonder, what was Disney hoping to accomplish by this? All you would do is just generate perverted versions of your characters. The fact that a guy could make a clip deep frying an infant, what wouldn't they do with the Disney characters? And there's so many different characters, it would have been crazy. Even when the plan was first announced, it was just baffling to me. It's like, well, how would Disney benefit from this at all? And apparently they realized that too. That's why they retracted their investment plans. But yeah, let's keep it going.
Even some Sora staffers themselves were reportedly caught off guard by the announcement. Online, people eulogize Sora by posting their favorite videos, such as one featuring a column of spinning penguins and another in which Jesus walks on water to win an Olympic gold medal in swimming.
That's hilarious. I gotta say, that's hilarious, man. It's people really do know how to work these tools to just make it entertaining.
After OpenAI launched the Sora app in September, Sam Altman predicted that society was about to undergo a stunning artistic revolution. Creativity could be about to go through a Cambrian explosion, he wrote online. But such a revolution never materialized. It's not that people hate AI slop. In fact, if anything, people seem to have a surprising appetite for it. The latest TikTok trend is raunchy telenovelas starring AI-generated fruit. In response to a request for comment...
That's the Fruit Love Island phenomenon. What is in Cambrian explosion, guys? Let's actually... I do want to look that up. Let's take a quick pause here. What is Cambrian explosion? Cambrian explosion is a rapid evolutionary event starting about 538 million years ago, where most major animal phyla first appeared in the fossil record. In AI. The Cambrian explosion in AI refers to the current era of rapid explosive diversification in AI models, software, and specialized hardware, echoing the rapid evolution of life 540 million years ago. Okay. All right. So we kind of get it. Sam was kind of thinking that this would evolve people's creativity faster and at a larger scale than what we have had so far. So okay, all right. Very, very lofty claim, but it kind of makes sense. All right, go.
An OpenAI spokesperson pointed me to a public statement that cites compute demand as a key factor in the company's decision. Generating videos is much more costly than generating text is, and Sora has likely been a real financial drain. In the fall, Forbes estimated that Sora might be costing OpenAI millions of dollars daily, and Bill Peebles, who leads Sora, said that the economics were completely unsustainable. OpenAI declined to comment on Forbes' estimates at the time.
That seems to be the main story around OpenAI, is their financial strains and their financial struggles. They're not really struggling, but the era around them spending that much money, spending crazy amount of money, promising crazy amount of returns, and just the crazy amount of deals that they've been making. It's very I don't want to say suspicious, but it's very ambitious, and it's super lofty goals that they set for themselves. So it's not unreasonable that people question their movements and their spending. So yeah.
Decision to quickly spin up a project and then suddenly pull the plug has become a classic OpenAI move. The company has spent the past few years cycling through new product features and business models with spectacular haste in an attempt to find its way to profitability. OpenAI seems to finally be learning that slop is not a business strategy. Altman has never had a great plan for how OpenAI will make money. "We have no idea how we may one day generate revenue," Altman said at a 2019 event. He went on to explain that one day, AI will be smart enough that OpenAI will simply ask the computer how to generate an investment return. "You can laugh," he told a rightfully amused audience, "but it is what I actually believe is going to happen." After ChatGPT's success a few years later, investors began pouring money into OpenAI, and Altman has done a tremendous job of marshaling investor funds.
Yeah, I would definitely give Altman one thing, is that he goes around and he gets investors, and that's what you want from your CEO and your leader, is that somebody who's capable of bringing in people from all over the world, from all over the place, to get them interested in your technology. And he's definitely we did that summary of the expose a couple videos ago, and one of the main points of that expose was he's a charming guy. he wants to be liked, and he does whatever he can to be liked. So I think he uses that ability to bring in more and more and more and more investments, and that seems to be working for them so far. Regarding this is super interesting. OpenAI will simply ask the computer how to generate an investment return. They're not doing that right now, but there's a lot of people who are doing that. There's a lot of people that are really trying to make money with OpenAI and with their OpenAI subscriptions and all that. Some successful, some not. But it's very interesting to me that AI in general is so powerful these days that it can definitely be a strong arm of your business, and you can definitely leverage it in so many different ways now that it was just not even possible in 2022. So only 4 years from 2022, AI came out. Like 2023, AI became mainstream 2023, and ever since then it's been craziness. So yeah, it's very interesting that now it's AIs with agents and with all their new capabilities are so powerful that they can definitely, in certain businesses, obviously not everything, but certain businesses, they can definitely hold their own and kind of generate revenue.
The startup is now worth more than Toyota, Coca-Cola, and Disney combined. But investors like to see returns, and so far, OpenAI hasn't done much to prove that it is capable of generating enough cash to stay out of the red. That's not to say that it hasn't been trying. Over the past few years, OpenAI has explored just about every business model conceivable. Last summer, Altman described OpenAI as 4 separate companies: a consumer tech business, a massive-scale infrastructure project, an AI research lab, and an incubator for new stuff, including hardware. OpenAI has a corporate partnership with The Atlantic. The trouble with trying to do everything is that sometimes...
Shout out Atlantic, even with the corporate partnership and the declaration of that, they still ran this article, and they still are critical of OpenAI, and they're still questioning their methods. So free press is, I guess, is not dead as of this moment. It's definitely endearing to see that there's still some people who are capable of doing something that may or may not ruffle feathers, and they still stand by it, and they still present their arguments.
You end up doing nothing well. Sora is the latest casualty in a long string of abrupt reversals, about faces, and seemingly sloppily implemented projects. Last year, Altman announced a massive joint AI infrastructure build-out with Oracle and SoftBank called Stargate, but the effort stalled, reportedly following poor leadership and coordination. Altman said in 2024 that combining ads and AI would be a last resort response, but then, earlier this year, the startup launched an ads initiative. Last fall, OpenAI debuted a shopping feature, which allowed people to buy products directly inside ChatGPT. Yesterday, the company announced that it was killing the feature and pivoting to focus on product discovery instead. In January, the company said that the first of its much-awaited devices was on track to launch later this year. But weeks later, court filings revealed that the company is unlikely to debut its new hardware before 2027. OpenAI originally banned NSFW content, and then it announced last year that it would make exceptions for such material, even planning a December rollout for erotica, only to later put erotica indefinitely on hold.
There definitely seems to be a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and a lot of movement in so many different directions. And to an outsider, it definitely feels frantic, and it definitely looks frantic. So I can see why people would question what are they doing, and people would put all their moves under scrutiny. The Stargate project is pretty much dead, even though they announced it with so much they announced it and with so much intensity, and they announced it as a way to show that, oh, this is gonna be a really big thing, and this is gonna really change the way compute is happening. And now it's not happening, or at least it's stalling. And with all the other ones, a lot of these are actually consumer focused, so I can see why they roll them out and pull it back. Erotica was not gonna work ever. There's other services for that. There's other ways to do that if you're really into it. and there's communities that are just built around that. And if OpenAI gets into it, it will just muddy the waters. And people who are into that type of stuff, they would just not like the version that OpenAI would do it, because they want to do it. Even if they do erotica, it will be investor-friendly erotica. And that I don't think anybody that was enjoying AI-generated erotica would enjoy a more restricted version of it. So yeah, I never saw that happening. I think they just promised that. They were looking into it, but they never figured out how they can do it and keep everybody happy. I do think that the devices are very interesting, but every sort of AI device so far has been like a microphone. It's been like a microphone and a camera, and it talks to you in your ear, and that's pretty much it. So how would they differentiate it? Because I think a lot of AI companies don't want a screen, and they want to make sure like just the AI works in the background and you just enjoy whatever you see in front of you, and you kind of go about your daily life, and then the AI is kind of working in the background with whatever your needs are. Oh, AI, call me an Uber. ChatGPT, call me an Uber in 15 minutes. I'm trying to go to Soho House. Boom, it's right there. So you don't have to pull out your phone. So I think the first generation of device would be something like that, where you just voice whatever you want and the agents work in the background and do it for you. But then you would still need some sort of a phone, or you still need some sort of connection, because I'm just hypothesizing at this point. You would still need to be connected to the cloud for the agents to work and be efficient. So yeah, that seems to be the way a lot of AI device companies going about it. The ads are just they were coming either way. Ads were coming either way. I don't understand how people didn't see it. I do wonder how much the ads are making them. It can't be that much, especially if they're consumer focused. It can't be that much. If they ever, when they launch the IPO and they have to show their earnings, I would be very interested to see how much of their earnings are ads related. So that'll be very, very interesting. That'll be very interesting to see.
Some amount of change in business plans is only natural for any company, let alone one in an industry as fast-moving as AI. But compared with its peers, OpenAI is especially chaotic in its strategy. The company's plans are seemingly always provisional. No partnership or product roadmap feels guaranteed to endure. Earlier this year, NVIDIA walked back a commitment to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI. At the time, the Wall Street Journal reported that NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang had concerns with OpenAI's lack of discipline in its business approach. When asked about the report, Huang said that it was nonsense to suggest he was unhappy with OpenAI.
I mean, he has to say that. There's so much money at stake with all of them. He has to say that to the public. Is there a lack of discipline in OpenAI? In some areas, yeah. But because they established themselves as such a strong AI innovator, and they established themselves as the brand of the AI, and I'm just talking about brand. I'm not talking about how good their compute is. I'm not talking about how good their models are or how good their plans are, but they are very ubiquitous with AI these days. And a lot of people, when they talk about AI, they just mean ChatGPT, and they don't really interface with anything other than that. I think Gemini is, because of Google's integration of Gemini and everything, Gemini is kind of also known, and Claude, at least in the past few months, has been making a lot of strides in public consciousness. But still, Claude is mainly business focused, and a lot of its applications are very developer focused, and they're very technical. And you wouldn't use Claude you wouldn't use Claude the way you would use ChatGPT, where a lot of people use ChatGPT. They just talk to it and they just kind of conversate with it. You conversate with Claude, you would eat up your usage immediately. Conversating with Claude is not efficient, and you would just be wasting your time, and you wouldn't really get much out of it. But conversating with ChatGPT is a lot better, and the back and forth with ChatGPT is a lot better, because they designed the chat interface in that way, and they designed the chat experience in that way. So again, back to the topic: is there a lack of discipline in some areas? Yeah, there is. There's definitely they're all over the place with some things, but I do think with their technology and with the work on their models, they're definitely on point, and they definitely working hard. Their scientists are working hard, their engineers are working hard, and they're definitely building something very unique in OpenAI.
OpenAI's haphazard business strategy has left the company to deal with an identity crisis of its own making. OpenAI is losing ground to Anthropic, its chief rival in the AI race, which has stuck with a targeted approach of selling productivity-enhancing AI tools to other businesses. Anthropic has had great success in its steadfast focus on the enterprise market. Now, OpenAI is attempting to copy Anthropic's playbook. We cannot miss this moment because we are distracted by side quests. Fiji Simo, OpenAI's applications chief, reportedly told staff in a company-wide meeting earlier this month, explaining that the company needs to nail productivity on the business front. To do so, OpenAI is planning to nearly double its headcount this year, including by hiring a team of specialists who will help other companies adopt its technology.
I think that's really smart. OpenAI's definitely this is a move that they definitely should be making, and this is something that they definitely should have been doing from earlier 2025. I don't understand that they were really focused on getting the consumer side of things, but the business side they should have had businesses and enterprises adapt first and then kind of roll out the technology to the consumers, because at least businesses and enterprises have specialty focused employees. They have engineers, they have developers that can actually use these tools more efficiently and use these tools and get better results than a regular person would, right? So, and has Anthropic been gaining ground that OpenAI has been losing? Yes. Still, OpenAI is first and Anthropic is a close second or third. So it's not really, I don't think, I think they still have some time. It might not be a lot of time. It might be less than a year, but I think OpenAI still has a good amount of time to kind of catch up to Anthropic in the enterprise sense. And if their latest models have been very good. ChatGPT 5.4 is good. The new one that's coming out reportedly is extremely smart, and it is comparable to Anthropic's model. Is it comparable to Mythos, the one that we talked about a couple videos ago? OpenAI's people on Twitter are claiming, and they're kind of hinting at being competitive with Mythos, but we don't know. But that's all in the future. That's all things that are going to be happening in the near future. As of right now, Anthropic is definitely beating OpenAI in a lot of enterprises and businesses. That's facts. If you talk to any developer, any software engineer, and all that, and if they use AI, it's probably Claude and Claude Code and Claude Cowork. And if they work with AI in any of their projects, it's Claude. I'm not saying that nobody uses OpenAI, and I'm not saying that OpenAI is very horrible at those, but from what I've seen and heard, it's Claude is being very ubiquitous for use in workspaces. So it'll be very interesting in the future to see how OpenAI is going to try to close that gap.
Even at the product level, OpenAI appears to be copying Anthropic. OpenAI is apparently planning to launch a super app to streamline its product offerings into one app, likely an attempt to compete with Anthropic's Cowork and Claude Code. "We were spreading our efforts across too many apps," Simo wrote to employees last week. "That fragmentation has been slowing us down and making it harder to hit the quality bar we want." After scrolling through Iran deepfakes and Trump slop on Sora this morning, I navigated to Altman's account on the platform. I was curious to see what the company's CEO might have to say about the end of Sora. The last time that Altman appears to have posted on the app was 6 months ago, when it launched. Perhaps that should have been a foreboding sign. I continued watching more clips until a pop-up filled my screen. OpenAI wanted to know how using Sora was affecting my mood. The app offered me a choice between thumbs up and thumbs down. I hit thumbs down.
All right. Hitting thumbs down has never been more dramatic than than the ending of this article. Oh my goodness. That's very interesting. And they're not lying. They're not being malicious, and they're not really trying to paint the picture of something that is not true. The Sora definitely has been a miss for OpenAI, and I'm really glad OpenAI is actually focusing on the one app. Definitely OpenAI, if they can close that gap and actually produce something viable, oh man, it'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. They can, with the usage they offer, with the more affordability, and if it's even comparable to Claude Code and Opus 4.6 and Mythos, oh my god, that would be just insane. So they still, OpenAI still has a very, very strong chance of pushing forward and moving forward. So yeah, that'll be very interesting to see. Now, we listened to this article and I kind of gave my thoughts on it. I definitely do want to talk about a couple of things that, maybe it will help you guys look things in a different way. The article makes a fair point that OpenAI can look scattered, but it overreads strategic experimentation as incompetence. In a frontier industry, especially one that is still trying to figure out product market fit across consumer, enterprise, infrastructure, and media, rapid shifts are not automatically signs of failure. They can also be signs that the company is willing to test, learn, and cut what does not justify the cost. If Sora really was expensive to run and difficult to sustain, shutting it down is arguably evidence of discipline rather than proof that OpenAI is doing everything poorly, which is very, very true. Very, very true. And as I said in the beginning of the video, the future is so uncertain that if these are the people at the front lines of humanity experimenting with the most futuristic technology, experimentation and failure is bound to happen. And companies will fail over and over again trying to come to something, and they're failing in the public eye because the technology is so impressive, because everybody's looking forward to it and everybody's wanting to see what happens next. So every sort of misstep is in the public eye and is written about and is talked about, and you can't do your business in silence and quiet. Everybody has eyes on it and they want to see what comes from what you're doing. The piece leans too heavily on the idea that virality without a Cambrian explosion of art means the product failed. That sets the bar in a way that almost guarantees disappointment. New creative tools rarely transform culture overnight, which is very true. Sometimes their first phase is messy, unserious, and full of junk before creators find better uses for them. See TikTok. What was TikTok initially? Musical.ly. What was Musical.ly initially? An app where people could lip sync to music. People still do that, but they do a lot of other things with TikTok as well. So just because one version of it failed, see Vine. Vine failed, but the idea of a short form vertical video sustained. It remained through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Short, and it kind of the idea and the discipline of it still perpetuates to this day. The existence of deepfakes, slop, and shock content is a serious criticism of the platform design, but it does not prove by itself that the underlying technology or business direction was worthless. It may show that consumer video generation is ahead of its moderation and monetization model, especially when people are able to just break the guardrails so easily and they can just kind of break through. And even if there is a lot of people watching it, monetizing it is definitely harder, because if you find something that people love, you can make an infinite amount of it, infinitely different ways, and other people can also make infinite amount of it. So even the monetization, I think it will be very, very watered down across the board, and you would have to pay out a lot of people a little bit instead of a few people a good amount of money. The comparison to Anthropic is also a little too neat. Anthropic's tighter enterprise focus may look cleaner from the outside, but OpenAI's broader approach has helped it build consumer mindshare, brand recognition, and a much larger cultural footprint, which we were talking about earlier. And is definitely OpenAI, ChatGPT are very synonymous with just AI. And they really, because they were one of the first and one of the easier they were one of the easier chatbots to use, and they were one of the easier tools to use. A lot of people at least tried it, and a lot of people at least trying it to this day a little bit. And there's a lot of free users that just kind of dip their foot in and ask a few questions and kind of play around with ChatGPT because they don't want to bother with the more with different brands. They don't want to bother with Gemini if you don't have an Android, or they don't want to bother with Claude because they're not sure if it's gonna be as good as ChatGPT, or they don't know that Claude is as good as ChatGPT, if not better. So they definitely won the consumers, and they definitely won the culture war for now. Tides are shifting rapidly, especially with Anthropic's recent moves and Anthropic's recent campaigns, marketing campaigns, where they're really pushing hard. I've seen Anthropic ads all over the place, and they're all pushing hard. They're trying to gain more and more space that the OpenAI has in consumers, in consumer mindsets. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. A company trying to be both a research lab and a mass market platform will naturally look less tidy than a company with a narrower lane, aka Anthropic. That does not mean it has an identity crisis. It may mean it is pursuing a harder, riskier strategy with a bigger upside if it works. The strongest criticism in the article is not that OpenAI experiments too much, but that it sometimes appears to overpromise and reverse course. That is a real weakness. But even there, the better conclusion may be that OpenAI has a messaging and execution problem. I think they just be yapping too much. They let out their plans too much. They talk about things they want to do in the future. It doesn't come to fruition, and people point back at what they said, and they said, "Oh, you said that," i.e., the ad statements that Sam Altman made all those years back. It came around and bit him in, and it kind of was not a PR nightmare, but it was kind of annoying to deal with when in the past you said, "Oh, we're not going to bring ads. And if we bring ads, that means something's wrong. And if we bring ads, that means that's like a last resort type of thing." And now they're just super open to ads, and they're definitely rolling them out in different tiers. A company can be overly ambitious, operationally inconsistent, and still be one of the central firms shaping the industry. The article treats every pivot as evidence of collapse, when some of them may simply be the messy reality of trying to commercialize a technology that is changing faster than any normal product cycle, which is very true. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where you're just at the front lines of this futuristic technology, and everything's changing so fast, and it's not a technology that only you control. It's a technology that pretty much anybody who wants to and has the ability to can compete with you, and they can build a model that may be just as good as yours. Remember DeepSeek? When DeepSeek came out, everybody panicked because it was a model as good as ChatGPT at that point, and it was free. It's very interesting to see what happens in the future. But what ChatGPT, what OpenAI is doing, what a lot of these mainstream companies are doing, they're really betting on scale and compute. And that's why we see data centers popping up everywhere. It seems to be working, and it still is working for now, where the more compute they have and the more they scale up their models' abilities, the models do get smarter. And we have not hit that wall where more compute necessarily wouldn't mean a stronger model. So for now, it's right now it's a war of compute. We'll see what happens in the future. Also, make sure you guys like and subscribe and leave a comment letting me know what you guys think of the video, what you guys think of the article, and let me know what you guys are more interested in for me to make more videos on. I'm definitely open to everything and anything. And yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.